speaking of viral, I got to give a shout out to Misery Loves Clips. Thanks for that. They do a good job. Speaking of viral, I got to give a shout out to Misery Loves Clips. Thanks for that. They do a good job.
Fucking Eddie Ifft is so full of shit. I listen to that. He's a fucking politician. He's a politician. Everything he said was a complete lie.
Eddie, so you're still mad at Chad, or?
I'm not mad. I just don't care. You called me and you said, "Hey, do you want Chad on the show with you?" And I said, "I'd rather not."
What did he do to you?
Nothing. I just would rather not be on.
He
with
says
Chad.
You're mad at him still because he was headlining Stress Factory.
Was that before he did the Staples Center?
Eddie goes, "You're not headlining," and then Chad's like, "No, I am." And then it was they were both right on a technicality, because I think he was half headlining. I think the headliner got stuck at an airport, and then Chad had a headline. So was he officially the headliner all week? Not really. Was he on the marquee if they had one as the headliner? Probably not. But he's still headlining those shows.
No, I wasn't upset about. He was upset that I questioned him.
So you're both right. You're both right. You shouldn't have questioned him.
He said, "I'm working the Stress Factory." I said, "Who are you opening for?" And he goes,
that's the slam right there.
That was mean.
wait, but he's not a known headliner.
Okay, you don't have to be a known. You don't have to be Siegfried and Roy for that not to be an insult. That's an early insult to go. Okay, that's a joke insult.
Kevin,
you say, I'm at Stress Factory. Who are you opening for?
You're baiting me in. I see what you're doing. What my point is, every time I had seen him, it's because he was opening for someone. So I just wondered who he was with, and that's all I asked.
I know people he's personally have text saying I'm toxic, I'm dangerous, he doesn't want to be around me. And the reason being, and it comes down to that fucking headlining weekend I'll tell you exactly what happened. We were at the Stress Factory. Chad Prather was doing the early shows. I did the late shows, and I did the Thursday show. I was headlining. I told Eddie F I was headlining. He called me immediately, freaked out, going, how'd you get that gig? Why are you headlining the Stress Factory and not me? I have better credits than you. You're an opener. I go, he asked me to do it. What do you want me to do? Turn it down? You can't be happy for me? And I told him the amount of money I was making, and he hung up on me. So he acted like it was no big deal. He was fucking with me. He was legitimately pissed because I haven't talked to him since June of 2019. And I got other shit on him too.
All right, let's hear it.
So Eddie, if I had something to give this dude, he'd be kissing my ass. If I had a podcast with numbers, he'd be kissing my ass. The problem is I open for you guys because I don't have an ego about it. I don't give a fuck. Put me up anywhere in the lineup. I'll headline, I'll feature, I'll host. Just get me on stage. But there's people who aren't secure with being a headliner. They go, "Oh, you're my opener. That's my feature." That's what Eddie Ifft does all the time. I was headlining the St. Louis Funny Bone. Sean O'Brien got me in there. I got Eddie Ifft in there to headline. He came in on the flat rate, and then next time he came through, he asked if I could feature. I go, "Yeah, no problem." I got him in. And the whole week he was calling me his feature. I go, "I headlined this club, and I got you in. I got you into this club." That Sunday, he's like, "I want to go to a movie tonight." I'm like, "Okay, cool, whatever." Wow. And I'm rapping with some chicks. I'm just hanging out, talking to these chicks. And he's like, "Come on, let's go. We're going to go to a movie." I was like, "I'm talking to these girls." He's like, "I'm the headliner." Oh, I'm like, "What?" And I just bought his fucking wife a card because she had a personal situation. I bought his kid a toy for his birthday, and he was just a complete asshole to me.
My wife had a miscarriage, and by the way, when are we going to start the show?
It's not Chip Chipperson. We start right away.
My wife had a miscarriage, and we had to go to an abortion clinic to have, like, once it happens, to have it removed. Oh, and it's a way more traumatic experience than I thought. Like I didn't realize, like, an abortion's not easy. Like, it's not just like, yeah, you just go in and they just like boop and you're done.
Abortion is basically Fast Times at Ridgemont High. That's basically what an abortion is, where the girl's sad and you have to pick her up. But yeah, we had the same thing where we had to basically like give birth to a dead baby.
Oh my God.
And then we had I remember I had to go to a funeral home or some shit. They're like, what do you want to do? I'm like, it's not even alive. What do you mean? What do I want to do?
So Eddie Ift's a phony. He's a fraud. I don't give a shit. I'm not afraid of him. He joined the LA Cucks, all those motherfuckers who got mad at me with Patton Oswalt, and I'm through. I don't care. By the way, this isn't wrestling. This is real life. A lot of people pretend like wrestling shtick, like we're doing some WD. No, I'm fucking pissed at Eddie Ifft, period.
Now, it sounds like you guys were dating or something, the way that he's treating you, like you were his bitch. Like, that's what pisses me off when somebody, especially a comedian, does that shit. Do I have to, if I want to book you to headline, do I have to call Eddie Ifft to see if you can do it? If he's okay?
And that's the thing. Like, I just look at it as like a comic friend. Like when I do gigs with Florentine, he treats me like a fucking comic. Like, look, he doesn't give a fuck. And here's the thing. Like, we all still open for people. Like, fucking Kevin opens for Louis C.K. Like, it doesn't matter.
I think Eddie's I think he's insecure. I think he's confused. I really think he's confused because he sent me a text today. He said, I just watched my documentary last night. He goes, I'm so glad I'm not famous. I couldn't handle having one of those done about me. I'm like, what? Eddie would give his left fucking nut to be even close to famous. So that's Eddie wants to be famous more than anyone I know. I mean, all he talks about is, I want to get famous so I can make my 10 million and then not have to do this anymore. So it's like, I mean, he's always talking about like, getting famous and then he can just stop. And
don't do it then. Do it.
He's still trying to play the Hollywood game, dude. You're almost 50. You're white. It's done. You're over. You're done. You're done.
I get that. I totally get it. I know I might have a bit of a comeback. I'm definitely going to do that. But there's no way I'm going to make what I was doing on the Howard Stern show. I know that those times are done for me, but what I can build up would be good. But you have to realize that, help other people. Why not help other people? Why hold out anybody else now? There's no reason.
No, my point is Eddie wants to be famous and he acts like I don't want to be famous. No, he absolutely 100% wants to be famous. So either he's delusional or he's just flat out fucking lying.
It's like Patrice said in that documentary. They're like, he called him Eddie, ugh. And then Eddie was hanging out. He's like, what clubs are you doing? He's like, I headline a bunch of colleges. He's like, what, PU? Because you stink.
That was in a documentary?
The Patrice documentary.
Wow.
It was?
Yeah, Patrice said that to Eddie Ifft.
How did I miss that?
Rich Voss was telling the story.
Oh.
Eddie wasn't in it.
You couldn't understand it then.
There was a lot of S's.
I work with Eddie. Eddie's good to me, and we always got along, right? We worked in Wildwood. Funny story. This is like when he was kind of, I guess he was kind of new or whatever. He was opening, and him and Mark Vito just didn't get along. It was brutal. Mark didn't find him funny. And I go, he goes, I'm going to fire him. I go, are you really going to fire him? He goes, it's not if I fire him, it's when. And I just started fucking laughing because he fucking hated him. And he's like, he's just fucking, it was like he got fired after the show and sent home. And
that was the owner or that was the owner or the headliner?
The headline, the owner fucking fired him. And and Eddie, like anytime I talk, he brings up that situation. Fucking really burnt him back then. He really was mad about that shit.
Yeah, he gets really super sensitive, and he also like we're all sensitive. But the thing about Eddie is like I was always a nice guy to him. I always try to show like people who came before me respect. Just because you paved the way, I know the grind of this fucking dumb job, but he's always disrespectful and talked down to me, and I just took it. And I'm like one of the first people to snap back at him. And the only reason I didn't do that podcast yesterday, because I saw behind Eddie's curtain. Eddie knows I know the real Eddie, and he was afraid to confront me on Kevin's podcast. That's the only reason I didn't do Kevin's podcast yesterday, because I'd love to hash it out. I would love to talk because I've had nice moments with the guy, but he's too much of a. I don't know what he is. I'm just pissed. I'm livid.
If somebody said you dodged it or something like that, I seen you dodged the interview yesterday, so you didn't have to confront him. That's what I seen something on Twitter.
No, fuck Twitter.
No, he didn't. No, Eddie. I asked Eddie, and Eddie said no, he doesn't want Chad on the show. So I was like, all right.
Oh,
I didn't
wow.
want to fucking ambush him, and
Wow.
I don't want to ambush either one of them.
I haven't talked to this dude in 2.5 years almost.
It's like Eddie lives in some fantasy world. He's like Brian McCarthy, where they just live in some fantasy world. You ask Eddie how he's doing. He's always doing great. You know, I'm doing great. I live in Malibu. It's amazing. Everything's doing great, and it's the same Brian McCarthy thing. Like, I'm doing great. You're going blind, and you're an alcoholic. You know, other than that, I'm doing great, and it's like after a while, you're like, Eddie, you're not doing that great, and now he doesn't want. Now he would hate to be famous, because then they'd make documentaries about him. And
by the way, he doesn't sell tickets either. He pretends like he does. He doesn't. I've opened for him. He does, and nobody knows who the fuck he is.
No, that's what I'm saying. So him to say, I don't want to be famous, like, he would kill to be famous. He would absolutely kill. He wants to be famous more. I mean, Jim Jeffries is famous. They did a podcast together. So you think he doesn't want to be selling tickets like Jim Jeffries? It's like, it's delusional.
And he constantly brings up Jim Jeffries' name because they did a podcast. It bothers him. It bothers him because that podcast was big when Jim Jeffries was on, and then it just fell apart once he left because Jim Jeffries.
If he's so excited, you know, if he's so upset about not being famous, he's fucking his wish came true. I mean, it's not going to happen, right? I mean, basically, it.
Yeah, he doesn't want it. He's saying he doesn't want a documentary made about him. It's like, you're what? So you're either lying or you're stupid, because. So that's the least bad thing about being famous is they make documentary. Who cares if they make a fucking documentary about you? Can live in a fucking beautiful house with a beautiful wife, like that fucking like that song.
And you may find yourself in a beautiful house with a beautiful wife.
Anyway, what's the name of the band? Bob Levy would know since he's old.
Which
Talking
one?
Heads. Talking Heads.
No, not that one.
Burning Down the House.
One of their, I don't think it's Burning Down the House, but it's one of those.
That's the name of this.
Wartime or something, with my beautiful wife, my beautiful house.
And you may find yourself in a beautiful house with a beautiful wife.
Oh, okay, yeah, I know that one.
You may find yourself.
Yeah.
But the fact that people think that, like, they don't want to be famous, or they don't want a documentary, or they don't want bitches wanting to fuck them, or like they don't. It's like, just shut up. Just shut the fuck up.
If I got
ask anybody like Ray Romano. It's like, is it suck being famous? Like, yeah, there's problems, but it's better than fucking waiting for Esty to give you a spot on a fucking Friday night show.
No, you're totally right about that. It's like fucking you want to be famous or not to be famous at this point is like. It's a struggle. You have to call people. You have to deal with people's fucking attitudes. When you're famous, you have people that are just lining up to suck your dick. And if somebody made a documentary about me that I didn't like, I wouldn't be able to see it because my face would be buried in porn stars' assholes for fucking days. And I wouldn't be able to see anything.
Right. What would you care? You're like, who cares?
And that's another thing about Eddie. That what bothers me is I've known the dude for 15 years. I talked to him on the phone, and then I hear he still talks to Brian McCarthy. Okay, yeah, okay. I'm the fucking damaged goods. I'm toxic. But you think Brian McCarthy's a wonderful guy? You're his only fucking friend, Eddie. You're his only friend.
Now I asked Eddie yesterday. I go, how often do you talk to Brian McCarthy? He goes, maybe once a week. Of course, he calls during the taping. So it's like. That's a lie right there. I know Brian probably calls them every day because they don't really neither one has much going on. So they kind of lean on each other, be like, it's, again, it's the fucking club where they act like I'm doing great and you're doing great. And my wife
bullshit each other.
Yeah.
And plus, Brian kisses Eddie's ass, and Eddie loves that. He loves when people kiss his ass.
People love to be around people that blow smoke up their ass, but they don't move any further because if you're honest with somebody and you say, hey, maybe this isn't that funny, maybe you should work on it, then you're going to do better. If somebody goes, oh, you're the greatest, you're like, oh, I don't have to do anything. You need people that are honest with you instead of fucking kissing your ass. I hate people around me kissing my ass. I've kissed my own fucking ass.
I got video.
I got to tone it down today because my daughter's complaining that I yell too much, and
But do you tell your daughter that's how you pay the bills?
she don't give a shit.
Oh.
She's at that age where everything I do, I'm like annoying. I just said, "You hate me, right?" She goes, "It's not." And then my wife goes, "You hate your dad?" She goes, "I tremendously dislike him."
It's not bad.
I'm like, well, this is gonna be a rough couple of years. I might just move the fuck out.